Why do we want to have beef cattle? Why do we put up with these brutes? Why in the world would I want to do something like this? These are legitimate, if somewhat cynical questions, but they need to be answered. I think regardless of what we do, beef business or not, we need to answer the why questions. I'm Steve Isaacs. I'm in the Agricultural Economics Department at the University of Kentucky, and I'm doing a couple of videos in this Beef Business Foundation series, and this is the first one, and it has to do with that question of why. I think it's a really good question. Now, most of what we're going to do in this series, I think, will be to help you with the how. We're going to have folks in here to talk to you about how to feed them, how to raise forages, how to keep them alive, how to make them grow faster, how to get them bred, how to market them, how to get the best price. So a lot of these videos are going to be about the how. But I think it's important before we get to the how that we have an understanding for ourselves and certainly for our family about the why. Because the why is really, really important. If we don't have the right answers to the why, then the hows probably don't matter. Now, as an economist, you probably think I'm going to answer the why question with, well, to make money, of course. And while that may be a good answer, it's not the only answer. Now, I spend a lot of time, I teach a couple of classes at UK, and I spend a lot of time trying to get my students to understand that not all benefits, or costs for that matter, are measured in dollars. There are other things that are beneficial and have costs that are not measured in dollars. Now, dollars is a really handy way of measuring things. If we can measure our returns in dollars and we measure our dollar cost, we subtract that from the returns. If it's a positive number, we've got a profit. Otherwise, we have a loss. So it's convenient, clearly, to measure things in dollars and cents. But there are other benefits and costs associated with farming and the beef business that are not easily measured. I mean, I can't tell you how to measure the satisfaction of seeing a good herd of cows and calves on a lush, well-managed pasture. I can't tell you how to measure the benefits or the satisfaction from seeing that newborn calf get up and find her first meal. Those are benefits that don't have easily measured numbers. Similarly on the cost side, I can't tell you the cost of getting that call in the middle of the night for somebody to let you know that your cattle are in the road. Nor can I measure the cost of that temper tantrum you had the last time that you tried to work cattle. So there are costs and benefits that are not measured in dollars. But if those non-monetary benefits exceed the cost, then we've got a satisfaction profit as well. In the world of business strategy, we call the why a mission statement or a vision statement. You'll see that number as well. Now, companies in corporate America spend a lot of time and a lot of dollars hiring management consultants or doing management retreats and strategic planning retreats to try to formulate their vision and mission statement. And lots of organizations, they may come up with a statement, hang it on the wall, use it in an advertising slogan, but its intent is to capture and hopefully communicate their reason for being. So we're no different. We need to answer that why question. Now, I used to illustrate this a planning pyramid or a management pyramid. And at the base of that pyramid is the mission, and that is the why. The mission is the why. The second level of that pyramid answers the what, and that is the goals that we would set. In my next video, I'll get into some goal setting stuff. And then the top of the pyramid is tactics, and that's the how that I mentioned a minute ago. How we do the things we do to reach the goals. Some other resources on this, if you'd like to have a really good video on the why, and that's a little more directed toward larger corporations, but it's a really well done video. It's a TED Talk by Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K. If you just Google Simon Sinek TED Talk, you're going to get it. There's a 5-minute version, there's an 18-minute version. It is worth watching because it does illustrate and I think demonstrate why the why is so important. And I have another illustration. I use this to explain why the why is important. An author named Doris Kiernan, several years ago, wrote a book called The Girls of Atomic City. The book was based on interviews that she did with women who were among the 70 or 80,000 people who worked at one location on essentially one task in the early 1940s. In the early 1940s, folks gathered together in really 3 locations around the country, but at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, there were probably 125,000 people living there, 70,000 to 80,000 of them working on something, and none of them knew, well, only a handful knew what they were working on. The existence of the city was a secret. Every job was a secret. You couldn't talk about anything you did with anybody else. A handful of people knew the what, but everybody knew the why. And the why was that they wanted to get the war over with so that their fathers and sons and brothers could come home from the war. That is, I think, a wonderful illustration of why the why is important. Now, you're not going to need a management consultant or probably do a visioning retreat with your family to come up with your mission statement. But I do want to give you some ideas and thoughts as to how to articulate that and have this as something that's written down and something that you know and that everybody knows. So if I were going to do this in the process, and this is what I try to teach students to do, just take a notepad and start writing down some random things, notes, phrases, bullet points, whatever you want, of things that are important to you. So write down some things that are important. Secondly, write down your values, your core values, what you really value about life or about your business. And finally, the third thing, where do you want this business to go? What do you want to achieve with being in the beef business? So if you write down things that are important to you, your core values, and where you'd like to be in the future, then you've got the beginnings of developing this mission statement. Now, I would encourage you, once you do that and get some things down, just to put it aside for a while. To use our beef metaphor, ruminate on it. I mean, very few people would go in their first draft and write the mission statement. Write some things down, come back to it, begin to write and formulate a sentence or two, or maybe a paragraph. This does not to be long, need to be long, and it certainly probably shouldn't be long, because this is something that encapsulates the why. Once you do that, and it's going to sort of come together, you are going to be able to put together, hopefully, a fairly concise mission statement that answers the question, why? And every time somebody in your family or in your business asks that question, why are we doing this? Then there needs to be an answer. And if you've articulated that mission statement well, then that is the answer to the why question. Now, I think the why needs to be answered before you get into business, or it better be answered to keep you in the business. Sometimes it might be, the why might be to get you out of the business. But at any rate, no matter what stage, you need to be considering the why. Now, I can't give you that answer. I cannot answer why, but you need to. I'm Steve Isaacs, the University of Kentucky Agricultural Economics Department, and I hope you've enjoyed this few minutes of video, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.